Okay, so a special pre-Hanukkah class. And as I was preparing for this class, um, my Instagram is exploding in the most horrific way. I am so disturbed. This has never happened to me before. And I feel like it's a bit of a message, and it has to do with Hanukkah. I posted maybe 2 weeks ago, I posted one of my favorite things that I had seen. I never have done such a reel like this. I found this magnificent picture of the new badge that the IDF has made for many of their soldiers to choose, which says, Ki Hashem Yitbarach, Tamid Oheboti, V'Tamid Yihya Li Rak Tov. If you saw my reel, you know what I'm talking about. And I have the badge on one side of myself, and then on the other side, I'm talking while this new words to this song has become these words have become a very popular song in Israel. And when we were there, we couldn't, like, it was just constantly playing. I mean, everywhere, the ice cream store in town, the soldiers, like everywhere the song was playing. The words mean that God is always with me, and he loves me, and he will only do for me good. It's magnificent. And so my real, I said, like, I just wanted to show you this new badge that was created. And I wanted to just say, like, we're so lucky to be a part of this nation. I don't know what happened. And it got a lot of attention and a lot of beautiful comments. Somebody out there got a hold of this reel, somebody from the other team, the other side, and has been posting. I'm literally like, I shake from every single time it pops up. Now I'm managing it. I'm blocking it and deleting it. I'm blocking it. Dozens and dozens of horrible cursing and comments, trying to just completely take away what I'm trying to do and burn it. We should all burn in hell, and we're all part of this genocide. And I mean, poop emojis up to wazoo. And I'm just like, I every time I see it happening, another one just came. I don't know what's going on that somebody and I saw them starting to happen 2 days ago. And I thought to myself, okay, this is freaking me out. This is not at all what I try to do. Like, I just try to put out goodness, and like, I don't even consider myself like a major influencer. Like, who in the world has gotten a hold of this reel? And I was literally just about to delete it. I was just going to take it off because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. And just before I took it off, I thought to myself, seriously? Like, that's going to be my response?
Mm-hmm.
My response is going to be like, you're going to try to attack us. And so I'll just take a step back and just, take my goodness off of the gram. And it's taking a lot of effort, for me to read each one of those and to see, first of all, such an important reminder in my face of this war that we're up against, this real war that we're up against. And second of all, the important reminder that the answer to, trying to respond and trying to combat and trying to stay strong is something that has to happen internally. There needs to be this internal awareness, an internal compass, an internalization of the war that we're fighting. And I don't think the timing was for naught. I think like it was for God sent me these right now as we're approaching Hanukkah to remind me of this very yucky part of it. Like, it's, I think sometimes, like, we obviously realize what's going on, but when they're in your face and you just feel like it feels totally attacking. It feels personally attacking. I feel completely like on the defense. And I'm thinking to myself, like, there are people like big names out there. Like, are they getting this much hate every day on every single thing that they put out? Like, I just can't imagine. I just can't understand it. So anyways, that's my long introduction of saying that we're living in a very dark world. It's very, very dark, and the darkness is very real. And here comes Hanukkah. Here comes Hanukkah. So let's get into a little bit today. I do this as I always do with every holiday, and I'm going to ask that you either use your chat button or you unmute yourself. Word association. When I say Chanukah, you say blank. What comes to mind when we think about Chanukah? What are the wonderful words that come to our mind? And let's just say them or put them into the chat together.
No.
Miracles and light unto the world.
Okay, beautiful. Light.
Hi, Tammy.
Light.
We got light, guys. Come on. Take a moment. Stick it in that chat, guys. Do I need to remind you how to use a chat? We're back on the Zoom. Miracles, good. Thank you, Beth.
Oil.
Oil, good.
Latkes.
Lots, guys.
Heads.
Donuts.
Becoming a greater enemy force, good. Winning, miraculous victory, good. Perseverance, beautiful.
Survival.
Survival, beautiful. Okay. All of these are
Community.
very true. What? Dreidels. Yes, dreidels.
Lightness,
Okay.
lightness in a party kind of way.
Okay, good. A certain amount of lightness in a party way. Good. Okay. Love that.
Menorah, and it's fun for children.
Okay, good. Let's understand a little bit. Interesting, yummy donuts. Good. Excellent.
Family.
How many of you feel like Hanukkah is your favorite holiday? Does anybody feel that way?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Singing songs.
yeah, I speak to a lot of people who tell me like Hanukkah is just their favorite holiday because it doesn't seem like there's many rules attached. And you can kind of just enjoy the holiday, and it's in the holiday season, and it just feels so cozy and all the things. But really what I want to discuss today with you, I want to get to the crux of what really this holiday is all about. And like I said, it might take a little bit of preparation. So let's understand. The truth is, the Gemara asks, Gemara says, I have this light here that I'm using, and I think it puts my face a little brighter, and it keeps going off. So that's why if you keep seeing a different coloring, that's what's happening. The Gemara says, Ma'i Chanukah. What is Chanukah? And then the Gemara goes on to explain that there was, after the temple was desecrated and there was nothing left, they looked for a little jug of oil, and it lasted. They took the little jug of oil, and this little jug of oil, they poured it into the menorah, and it lasted for 8 days. Okay? Renee, that was for you. That's part of the miracle. Okay? We mentioned last time that the bigger part of the miracle, perhaps on a deeper level, is the fact that they even looked. The fact that they even looked for this oil. If they would not have wanted to look for the oil, it would have been a certain sense of despondency, a certain sense of despair. Why should we even bother? What is this that we're trying to accomplish? So on another level, that's a higher level of the miracle, is that they looked. But interestingly enough, in another place, which is actually called the Al-Hanisim, which is traditional, which is what we say, both in the daily Shemona Esrei, so in the Amidah, when we pray every day, we add in a little prayer called Al-Hanisim, which means on the miracles. We also add this in if we ever were to wash and have some bread and we're doing the Birkat Hamazon, we add in this paragraph of Al-Hanisim. Now, we only say Al-Hanisim twice a year, and it's for the 2 rabbinic holidays. One of them is Purim, which we say the same line, Al-Hanisim, and it starts the same way, and then it goes into the miracles of Purim. And then we do the same thing the whole week of Chanukah. We get to say this beautiful prayer, and each one, the first one for Purim talks about Mordechai and Esther, and the second one talks about the Greeks and how the Maccabees fought back and won. So that's exactly my point, is that if you look at the paragraph that it tells us about these miracles that happened, it doesn't say anything about the oil lasting. It actually only talks about the victory of these. If I could just explain to you what this really looked like, you're talking about 13, really an army of like 13 men going out and fighting a humongous Greek army with their elephants, with all of their mighty shields and swords and all the things that they had. And it made no sense. And so according to the Al-Hanisim prayer, we actually are told that the miracle was the fighting, the fact that the few people won this massive war. So this is a major question. It almost seems to be contradictory. And we have to ask, why are these not aligned? Why is the answer not the same? Are we celebrating the oil? Are we celebrating the fact that they looked for the oil? Are we celebrating the fact that they won this war? And the truth is that while all of them are parts that we celebrate, the reason that is brought down, does anybody have any ideas why the main thing that we actually, according to the Al-Hanisim, which is the one that we recite on an ongoing basis, which means automatically, if it's going to be said all the time, it's going to be the one that's going to be ringing the most in our brains. Anyone have any idea why the victory of the military victory would be the one that's kind of highlighted more than the oil or more than the search of the oil? Anyone have any thoughts? Renee?
But you just said yourself, it was 13 men against the whole Greek army. So it was the few against the mighty, or like David and Goliath kind of.
Listen, it's a huge miracle, but why did we
Right.
not write anything about it in the Al-Hanisim prayer? Why is it not mentioned about the oil? Meaning, why is that the only thing that's mentioned? What do we learn from here?
What the importance of the victory and survival?
Let me repeat the question. The Gemara tells us it was because of the oil, but the Al-Hanisim prayer that we recite on a daily basis during Chanukah, which is reliving the story in our head, doesn't mention anything about the oil. It only mentions the military victory.
Maybe it's the bravery that people needed and the faith they needed to fight.
Okay.
Could
It's
it be
scary?
Could it be because the military victory was related to humanity and the people, whereas the oil was like an outside aspect,
So
an
explain,
external aspect?
you're on to something. Explain what you're saying a little bit more, tweak it a little bit more.
I don't really know the answer. I'm just wondering if it's that because the military victory was about people and what we can do ourselves and like what the action we can take rather than oil is like an external thing that is a thing. It's not us.
Okay, that's very interesting. I think what you're saying has a lot of truth to it, but I'm going to actually flip it on its head for you and show you what the purpose of it is. And maybe it's kind of what you're alluding to, but I'm going to shine a little bit of a different light onto it. Debbie?
Just the crux of it is the Maccabees. Nothing else might have happened if not for that. Isn't
Okay.
that like the essence of the holiday then?
Okay. Okay, good. So what I want to point out to you, all these things are definitely true. And the truth is that the bravery, and I mean, I'm in the middle of reading right now. So my friend, Hannah Cohen, she's a local friend of mine. She lives here in Kent Mills. She just wrote a children's book. It's a very, very well written. It's kind of like the Chanukah story, the heroes, written for like younger. She specifically wrote it for like younger boys. She says like she's not trying to take away from younger girls, but like she felt like sometimes the younger boys in our world, in our circles, don't necessarily have like heroes to look up to. So she took this Chanukah story, and I'm actually reading it with my Daniela, so clearly it's also for girls. But the purpose, the point is, and she did a great podcast with my husband and just explained so much of it. But the point is, like, when you think about this victory in modern day times, I mean, it's mind-boggling to think about what they accomplished. But what I actually want to point out to you is that, and almost like Beth, in a way, it's almost like the opposite of what you're saying, even though I think you probably are alluding to this. But one of the major reasons that we focus in the Al-Hanisim prayer on the victory of the war, because we want to recognize that God was just as much present, listen to this, for the miracle of the oil as he was for the miracle of the victory of military. The miracle of the oil, exactly as you both alluded to, is so supernatural that you take one little tiny little bit of oil and you go really imagine what this is like. For those of you who light your menorahs with oil, and you light it on the first night of Chanukah, and you come back the next morning and you're like, that is so strange. The candle is still burning. And then you come back that night to light the Chanukah candles and you're like, oh my gosh, this is really weird. The oil is still burning. And then you go to sleep that night and you wake up and you're like, you wake up and you look down at your candles, you're like, holy schmoly, like the candle is still burning. And I really want you to imagine what that would feel like for a full week. You would be so creeped out because it would feel so like, wow, what's happening to me? This is so supernatural. But that's what happened. And it's so obvious to our eyes that this is supernatural, because how in the world, if not for an open miracle, how in the world else would this have happened unless God deemed it so? However, with military strength, we might fool ourselves and we might think, like the Torah warns us, Kochi v'otzem yadi asali es hachayel hazeh, which means the strength of my very own hand has done this miracle, quote unquote, has done this thing, this splendor for me. So therefore, the rabbis who put this prayer together said what needs to go into this prayer is the victory of military, because otherwise we might forget. We might associate too much power to our people and forget that at the end of the day, the only reason that this miracle happened is because Hashem said so, because God wanted that miracle to happen. Welcome to humanity, which tends, and I think, I see it happening now. I even have to sometimes like remind myself. We tend to humanize, we tend to look around and tend to make sense of things that are around us. That's what we want to do naturally. We want to be able to give substance and framework and form to something that's happening that seems so insane or extraordinary. That's what we want to do. But it doesn't always work that way. And what we have to remind ourselves, and this really speaks to the crux of what the holiday is really about, which is interesting because somebody said miracles, but it's much deeper than that. The crux of this holiday is all about, we say this in the prayer that we say after we light the candles in the Al Hanisim prayer, Kidei lahodot ulehalel l'shimcha hagadol. The whole purpose for this holiday, we'll talk about spreading light and being a menorah, we're going to get to that soon. But the purpose for this holiday and the crux of this holiday is for the big capital G. And that is gratitude. Recognizing where everything stems from. Tammy, is your hand up?
Yes, it is. After I wipe my nose. It's such a powerful message. How did it get so lost? Why are we in Hanukkah 301? This is an advanced class. Why didn't this main message stay?
I don't know. And I don't know. I'm not sure. There's other parts of Hanukkah that, the beauty is also there. I had such a humbling conversation with my father the other day while I was speaking, and the IDF, and this is not at all to take away from their strength. But when I said something, my father just very, humbly, he put me in my place and he said, just remember, that's Hashem. That's God. God protects the IDF. The IDF is successful because of the miracles that are happening. I want to tell you, ladies, the Hanukkah story is not written down. It's mysteries. There's little pieces that we piece together like a puzzle. Unlike the Purim story, which we have a Megillah, okay? Unlike all the other holidays, which are in the Torah, Hanukkah has this like mysterious component to it. And one of the reasons that I learned this year, for one of the reasons why it's not written down, and I heard this by Rebbetzin Shira Smiles, one of my teachers, who just gave a class. I have my brother-in-law lost his niece when she was 12 years old. She died from cancer. And this was already many years ago. And every year they send out a new book to learn in her memory, and they always culminate with a certain speaker. So I was listening to the speech that she gave, you know, to come out to Eloi Nishma, to uplift the soul of this little girl, Sari Ort. And she taught me this. She said the reason that Hanukkah is not written down is because it is literally still happening. It is the story that is still happening. And while you might say that with other holidays, what do you mean? It still is kind of happening. Hanukkah is the most. Hanukkah is the most. The fight that we have to, as a small little Jewish nation, hence the whole story that I started off with my Instagram reel, the fight that we have to fight as a small but mighty nation is one that will present itself over and over and over again. And I want to just add to that this year in particular, more than ever before, for sure, in my lifetime, for sure, in all of your lifetimes, I'm going to just say, we have just experienced, many of us firsthand, Tammy especially firsthand, miracles beyond comprehension. Beyond comprehension, some of these miracles, they don't even make sense. And somehow, you know what we do? We start to like, I don't know, we like make sense of them. We rationalize. The Iron Dome, it's there. We're forgetting where this is all. We're still in the middle of the Hanukkah story. The oil lasting for 8 days, of course it's gone. The IDF, maybe we get a little mushy, gets a little bit hazy, forget. So comes the holiday of Hanukkah and has to remind us inside of the script that we read every day of Hanukkah. What is the miracle that we're celebrating? We're celebrating the military victory. And this is something that we cannot ever forget where this is really stemming from, and that this is God's hand just the same way that the oil burned for 8 days and nights. So interesting, next year, when I ask you guys, what is the crux of the holiday? When I ask you word association for this holiday, the answer has to be gratitude. The crux of the holiday of Hanukkah is it's about the light. We're going to talk about that. But for this class, I must remind you, it is about the holiday of gratitude. It is about us recognizing that the miracles that seem like they're miracles are the same acts, the same things that happen that just seem like everyday nature. They just seem like the things. And I wrote down a quote here that I had heard, and that was by Rabbi Wolbe, and he says, when challenging things happen, we ask, why, God? So why, when good things happen, don't we also say, why, God? We tend to somehow in our minds make this picture of the good that's supposed to happen and the bad that's not supposed to happen. And then somehow God gets blamed for the bad. Do we understand the irony? Comes Chanukah and tells us, hold on one second. Maybe this is a time that we need to dig deeper into our gratitude, that we need to start looking at the entire picture of our lives, the entire picture of the good, of the challenging, of the hard, of the seemingly bad. And we need to try to put that into perspective. I was actually thinking, and maybe if I say it in class, I'll actually do it. I was thinking that this year, I want us to have a little book, a little notebook. Maybe I'll create it myself. Maybe I'll buy something. And it will sit next to my Hanukkah candles. And every night, me, my husband, me, Shlomo, my kids, and any guests who are with us that night, we all have to write in this book one piece of gratitude. And then I was thinking, I can't believe I didn't start this like years ago, but I was like, and then this book, the same way, like all my other stuff will get packed up with in my Chanukah box, with all of my menorahs and with all of my decorations and with all of my dreidels. This book will be packed away in my box and will come out next Chanukah. And every night we will add. And after many years, we'll have a Chanukah gratitude journal, not just a gratitude journal, because Rani, she already does that every day. She's amazing. My idea is a Chanukah, exactly, Rani, exactly like you just said, a Chanukah gratitude journal, specifically so that we can tap into the power of lehodot ulehalel, which literally means lehodot is to acknowledge. To acknowledge, ulahalel is and to praise. And to praise. We have to use this holiday of light to have the clarity to realize everything comes from one source. It's all coming from one place. Something so beautiful, which is alluded to in the name of the month, which is Kislev, something very, very beautiful that I want to teach you about, the light. And I think it speaks to this light, this clarity that we're trying to have. When the world was created, ladies, when the world was created, every day was created. And it ends the words by saying, Vayas came. And he did, and so it was. And there's one thing that was created, and it's not there. I wish I had a Chumash right in front of me so I could quote it to you exactly. But those words that and it was so are not there. With which item, which thing? The light. So you have to wonder, right? Whenever the Torah comes with a certain pattern and a certain system, and then suddenly from all the days of creation and the light, it's missing those words. So obviously that's clue, right? That's our clue. What's going on over here? So the question is, where do we make up for these words? Why is it lacking for the light? And where do we see these words replaced? So I want to tell you where those words come back. Where do we see those words? It says that when Aaron, who was able to light the menorah in the Holy Temple, right? That was his consolation prize, that he wasn't going to be Moshe, but he's going to be able to light the menorah. It says those words, Vayas came, and he did so. And so the rabbi, our sages tell us, this tells us, ding, 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 there's some connection between the light of creation and the light of the menorah. There must be something that it's trying to tell us, because those words that weren't there when the light was created then make an appearance when Aaron is told to light the menorah. You understand? Nancy, you're following. Okay, amazing. So what is this trying to tell us? What is this light? So we're going to go for a second into the name of the holiday. The holiday, the name of the month, I'm sorry. The name of the month, remember, is called Kislev. One of the translations for the word kiss, like kaf samach, is to cover. Lichasot is to cover. Chasa with a chaf is covered. Covered, and then lamed vav, which is the second part of the name of the holiday, leiv, lamed vav, not leiv with a bet, not like leiv like a heart, but lamed vav, leiv, equals the numerical value of 36. So there's something here about the covered 36. Okay?
36. I mean,
yeah. So there's a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of Torah on this idea. But the idea is that when the world was initially created, there was actually an absence of light for an entire 36 hours. There was a certain part where God refrained this from giving the light to the world for 36 hours. And if you've been studying with me for enough times, you know that there are a few times that we get to access this hidden light. It's really, what we're told is that this is saved. This is a very sacred light that showed itself in the very beginning of creation and then was hidden. the Lev, the Lamed Vav of this holiday is telling us that one of the times that we access this light is through
Chanukah.
the light of the menorah.
We access.
Ladies, the reason that so many people love this holiday, because I quote, there's not that many strings attached, there's not so much to do, is actually very true. This is the only holiday that we're told about that the essence of the entire holiday is only spiritual. The only mitzvah is lighting the menorah. Everything else is icing on the cake. There's no mitzvah to have parties. There's no mitzvah. Sorry, guys. There's no mitzvah to have sufganiyot. There is no mitzvah. There's no mitzvah to have latkes. Nope. Those
No.
extra calories, those are not actual mitzvah. Okay. When you eat on Shabbat, that is a mitzvah. So they say like the calories don't count. That at least you could say it's in a mitzvah. Hanukkah latkes, it's just tradition. It's not a mitzvah.
Right.
Only essence of the holiday, I get so passionate when I talk about this because the only essence of the holiday is lighting the candles and gleaning from the light of the candles. The flames that flicker in front of us are supposed to be eluding. They're supposed to be showing us something that is so much bigger that we're able to tap into. And part of that is the power of this 36. Interestingly enough, if you add up the amount of candles that we light, the amount of cups of either oil or candles that we light, if you add them up, does anybody know how many will it turn out to be if you do the math?
Was it 36?
36.
36.
It will be 36 lights. So what is this light? What is this light that we're supposed to be accessing? What is the power of this light? I just want to mention, because I think it's just important to know, the light also presents itself. The two other times that I know I've taught about, and I just want to remind you, because I don't know, I don't remember everything that I've ever learned, so I can just imagine that you don't remember this either. But if you do, you get extra points. The other time we can access that light for a quick moment is the Shabbat candles. Okay, that light also gives us a certain element of, we're going to discuss exactly what that light is intended to do. And the other time is that there's this other, it's like a spiritual light that is over the womb. It hovers over the womb. And when the baby enters and rather exits from the womb and enters into this world, that light is extinguished. But there is like, it's almost like a ner tamid, like a light, like a spiritual light that is inside of the womb, watching over that baby. Now I want to explain to you what this light is. What is the power of this light? Yes, I saw a hand. Gail.
Oh, I was just thinking there was a time, sorry, I got to close the door. Isn't there a time right before sunset during Shabbat between when the sun sets and when it's actually night where there's just a special moment after you light the
Bein
candles?
hashmash. So it's actually called Bein Hashmashos. You are definitely remembering correctly. It's kind of like between the two suns. So it's like, it's called Bein Hashmasho. And yes, it's usually right after like as the sun is setting. And that actually, what I think you're referring to is that time was actually created in the beginning of time, like that Bein Hashmashos, and things were created during that time. So it is also a very special, powerful time, totally having nothing to do with this though. But it is good that you remember that. And it is about the time, and certain things were created during that time. If you want more information about it, I'm happy. I think there's an article that I have written about it, and I'm happy to send it to you.
Of course.
Okay.
Always.
If I don't send it to you, send me a text and I'll remind you, okay? So what I want to ask you before I tell you what is this light, I want to ask you, is there anything that you can think about? The light from the beginning of time that perhaps we were given in the very beginning and then it was retracted from the world, okay? To the light that holds over the womb, to the light that we access during Shabbat candles, to the light that we're able to access from the menorah flames. Is there anything that you can think of that weaves together this whole idea?
I'm not sure I understand the question of the light. It's all light. They're all lights.
Right, but is there anything that, like, I'm going to say the answer and you'll understand what I mean, but I'm working backwards. Like, what's in common between those lights? What's the light that was hidden from us that we had initially had, to the light that's in the womb, to the light that we access during the Shabbat candles, to the light that we light the menorah? You're right, they're lights, but first of all,
It's
the
all
light of
from
the Hanukkah.
Hashem.
Okay, they're from Hashem. The light from the Hanukkah candles and the Shabbat candles there's a physical light there. The light over in the womb is not a physical light, but yet we're told it's accessing something. It's the same light that we're accessing.
Spiritual.
It is spiritual. So I just want to, I can't even say this. I can't even give this concept enough like attention or gravity, because I don't even think that I fully understand what this means. I don't even think I fully comprehend it. But what I want to say is that, and we're going to get to what all those 4 things have in common. But when we light a Hanukkah lift, when we light a Hanukkah candle in this universe on our menorah, there is a heavenly light that is being lit simultaneously. And it's almost as if, again, I know that this is such a huge idea, but I don't even fully grasp it to be able to, like, I know that it's so huge. And so it excites me very deeply, but I'm not sure I fully comprehend the greatness of what this even means. It's almost as if when we light that physical light in this world, it's as if the 2 lights are like kissing. There's a certain light that's coming down, that's a divine light, that's like God's, energy and aura. That's like, there's a whole universe up in that world. And when we do that action of lighting the divine light down here, those 2 lights, it like combusts, it's like this combustion of the physical light that we're lighting with this divine spiritual light that is creating beyond ripples. We can't even imagine what spiritual ripples are going on from that light. Which is why we are told, there's so much depth to what I'm saying right now, but we are told when we sing the different the prayers after the menorah lighting, we're told something very interesting about the actual candles. And it says, I'll quote it in Hebrew, and then I'll translate it. It says, and these candles, ein lanu rishut lihishtamesh bahem, ela lirotam bilvad. Which means, and these candles that you're looking at them, you have absolutely no permission to use them for any other source. Rather, what are we told to do with them? Just look at them. That is all they are meant to do. To the point that the whole reason that we have a shamash, the whole reason that the halacha was you must use a candle to light the other candles. So in addition to it being a respectable thing to do to light the other candles, the reason for that is because in case, let's say we're opening up our Siddur, we're opening up something, you're opening your new Hanukkah gratitude journal right in front of your candles and you want to light. You can't use the light of the candles. Therefore, the shamash halachically has to be lit so that in case you're using some of the light, you can say it's the light from the shamash. Do you understand? It's so interesting, and I see this a lot with us, specifically with the halachot of Chanukah. But the halachot, which means the laws around these holidays, the laws themselves are our clues. Like when our sages give us these laws, those are like clues for context. Like those give us the actual clues as to what the holiday is all about. So when we're told that we can't use this light, use the shamash. So you understand that there is something so holy that is going on that when you look at the candles, something is happening to you. Something is happening to your brain, something is happening to your soul, and something is happening to your eyes when you look at these candles. Now, I have to say, like Rane wrote, traditionally you're supposed to sit really for 30 minutes after the candles burn.
Not
Some
easy.
years, yes, I was going to say some years I'm better than others. Full disclaimer, like depending on the ages and stages of my children and how hungry we all are, it's much easier to like if it was up to me, I'll just sit all night. I can literally sit all night by the Chanukah candles, and depending on, we've gone through different ages and stages. But what I want to say to you is that with the light of the Shabbat candles, you look at it, you can leave. Like somebody just reached out to me this week. She said she's leaving and she wants to know, is it safe for her to light her tea candles and then go? So you could light your 2 candles and walk out. With Hanukkah, you have to sit with them for at least 30 minutes. Somebody has to sit with those candles for at least 30 minutes. It has a different law because the light of the Hanukkah candles is supposed to be doing something so much deeper. And while the Shabbat candles, it is accessing a little tiny snippet of the same light, Hanukkah is like that on steroids. But what is the light? What are we supposed to be having in mind when we look at these lights? I'm really hoping, I'm hopeful, I don't know, to like share a few of these snippets on my Instagram platform over Hanukkah. But what I want to remind you of is that if the initial light that was put out into the world, when Adam was first created, there was something very, very special about when he was first created. And that is that he was able to see. Does anybody know? What does it tell us about Adam? What does it tell us something special about the vision of Adam?
We could see the future, no?
So I don't know so much the future, but it says that he could see from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. So in a way, I guess it would be the future because like he's seeing what's going to be down the line. But it says that when Adam was able to access that special light that was taken away from us, he was actually able to access total clarity.
Right, right.
Donna, you're going to see it. It's going to tie into gratitude. You're going to see how this is all going to fit together. He was actually able to access full clarity, which means there was no question in his mind of why his life circumstances gave him certain things. At that point, he wasn't alive for all that much time anyways. But the point is, if you think about what that light gave him access to, it was a certain clarity, a certain complete understanding of everything. If we had the accessibility to see from one end of the world to the other, and that would give us a full perspective, full clarity. We knew everything from A to Z. Could you even imagine what our lives would look like? What do you think? What would be the difference in our lives if we saw the full picture?
Be more careful with our steps.
Okay, that's one thing. What else, guys? Come on. If we saw full clarity from one end of the world to the other, if we saw the full picture, how would our life look different than the life we're living today?
Therapists might be out of business.
Okay, well said. Well said. Therapists might be out of business. What else?
More elevated life.
Okay, more elevated.
We'd correct mistakes we did. We could see our
Okay.
whole.
No,
We
no,
would-
we wouldn't, Devorah, we wouldn't have gratitude because we'd already know. Like, what would we,
Right.
would we not? I don't,
I think it would be exactly the opposite, to
I
be
think we'd
honest.
have full gratitude.
I think it would be exactly the opposite because we would understand that everything that we have is part of the bigger picture. We would see that, we would look and we would think, oh my gosh, that's why I have that struggle. Of course, because without that struggle, I'm not going to become that. Oh, that's why that enemy was put into my world. Oh, right. You know, I'm dealing with somebody right now who's struggling with tremendous infertility, tremendous. And I just listened on this class that I was just talking to you about by this Rebbetzin Shira Smiles, and she actually said herself, she said that when first got married, she got a certain test back that said they had a 3% chance of having children. And for 10 years, they were in massive treatments. She said, during those 10 years, was I able to tell you with full gratitude, like, hooray, this is, all great, this is fine. She goes, it was really hard. They had 2 children with the 3% chance. They had 2 children. And she said, now I look at my life, none of it would have been the same had I not have gone through those 10 years of infertility. She is only the person, and I can't say this, she's saying this, she's only the person she is because of those 10 years. When we have full clarity, when we see from one end to the other, we look at ourselves, we look at everything that we come along with, and we can understand, hold on one second, that's my full potential. That's what I'm really here to do. That's why that thing is in my way. Oh, it's to be a stepping stone? Oh, okay. It's a totally different set of eyes. And that's why that's the same light that holds over a baby's womb. Because guess what? that baby, that soul, has full access to that same picture. When that baby is in utero, it knows the whole picture. And suddenly that light is extinguished. It enters into the real world, and its whole lifetime, that's our lifetime, our whole lifetime, we're here trying to find that light again. You think it's for naught that when, or not even for naught, but you think it's a coincidence that when everybody describes life their near-death experiences, and remember, I did a paper on this, right? Remember, I did a paper on near-death experiences. Everybody that writes about it, they all describe what?
A light.
A light, okay? There is a light that we are headed towards. There is something bigger. There is something more clear. There is something with clarity. There is something that our soul is yearning to get towards. So I often wonder, like that light that was held over that soul in utero, is that the light? Like, is that the light that they're describing? Is it that greatness? Is it that clarity? Is it being closer to that presence of God that represents all of that clarity? Very possibly, right? Like it totally aligns. So what we're told is those 36 candles, for those hours that we can sit by the menorah, we can meditate and we can access that light. Donna, the reason that it so beautifully fits with gratitude is because when you have clarity of purpose, clarity of everything in your life, clarity of everything that comes along, both on a personal level, a global level, everything, when you recognize it with clarity, it can only lead to gratitude. Because you have to recognize, oh my gosh, this is all part of my toolbox. This is all part of my life's toolbox. This is all part of my mission. This is all part of the picture. So Chanukah is really a time for us to dig deep. It's really a time for us to look at the things in our life that we might take for granted, the things that we might give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back on and just like think, right, that feels so good, right? We think it's me and realize, hold on one second. No. Lahodot ulahalel, to acknowledge and to recognize and to praise that this is coming from another capital S, another source. That same source, that same acknowledgement that everything that happens that seems natural is really supernatural. Ladies, that is why Chanukah is 8 days. If it was 7 days, it would represent nature, the regular way of the world, 7. Everything within nature is in the number 7. Comes along Chanukah and says, oh no, it will not be 7. It is all about the number 8. It is all about the supernatural. It is all about recognizing that within the natural, there's something that is supernatural. Within the framework of us thinking, oh yeah, like no problem, I just, it just seemed like regular. Oh, that's just so coincidental. No, there is a God, there is an Almighty that is watching out, that is making everything align. The miracles that we have seen from Israel this year are like, we have never experienced these miracles. But we have to remind ourselves, and I think it's so important because we are in such flippin' dark times. We are in such dark times. But we forget it's much easier to focus on the darkness than it is to focus on the light. And Chanukah has to come and it has to totally shake things up. It has to come at the darkest depths of winter. It has to come when we're like, is it midnight? And you look at the clock and you're like, oh no, it's 5:30. That's great. Wow. That's really what it is. And then you see those flickering flames in the menorah.
What am I doing?
They dance right outside of the window, and you sit and you look at them and you look at your life and you look at all the things that come around your life. And then you spread it a little further and you start thinking about your family and your friends and then the Jewish world and of course Israel, and you start thinking and you start pulling it all in and holding everything so close to our hearts, so close to what we want to feel, that God, this is all you. This is all you. And this is our holiday, Lahodot Ulahalel. This is our holiday that we can only praise and we can acknowledge and we can get into the depths of gratitude of what is supposed to be accomplished during this time. So that is
Devorah,
really, yes.
Devorah, so what, like when you started off the class, you talked about the horrible Instagram noise. So like, yes, Hanukkah, it's sort of the opposite, the positive side. Well, how do you ignore all that badness, or do you just take it in and realize that there's also light and there's positive? Because it's hard to
Yeah.
balance the negative coming at us, as Jews. So
Right. I think it's very well said, Lauren. And I think that that's why I was saying, I said it wasn't for naught, but I really, again, I meant that this could not have been a coincidence that God was
okay.
like, oh, let me show this up right in your face, very front and center. And by the way, if you go to my reel, you won't see them because I am like, even now I have to get on my phone right afterwards and take down a few of those nasty things. But I think the answer lies here. Meaning, I think we have to recognize, we always have to recognize our enemies. We always, the second that we forget what our enemies are, then that's trouble. So I think we have to acknowledge that it's there and then make sure that light, something inside of us is kindled a little bit stronger, that we recognize that something is happening, there's a combustion, there's some kind of crazy explosion that's happening when that candle is lit, that we have the proper mindset, that we have the proper heart set, that we become the menorah, that we ourselves stand for the light, that when we light the menorah, we actually pray. We pray. It is a major time for prayer, ladies. In addition to looking at the lights and having the gratitude, it's a major time for prayers. And we pray. And the first prayer, Lauren, can be, God, I feel the darkness. Hashem, I see the darkness. Please let me hold on to you. Let me hold on to the hope. Let me hold on to the light. Let me always feel your guiding hand. And Hashem, let me be a menorah. Let me be a source of light to those around me. And I think that when that internal conversation happens, what's the better way? What's the better way? I think we can't just take it down. We can't just shut down the Instagram reel. I think that was my message. No, you're not taking it down, Devorah. Like, you're going to just continue, keep putting it out there and keep fighting back. And while the Instagram reel is one little snippet of my little, reality, obviously you realize that it's really just a parable for what's going on a massive scale, the war that we're fighting. So this is really what I wanted to give over to you, and I want to encourage. I'm really B'li Neder. I'm going to start this Chanukah gratitude journal. If you all do, I would love to hear or to see about it. And then every year you put it away, you tuck it away, and then you take it out the next year and you realize all the beautiful things you have to be grateful for. So I'm happy to take any comments or questions. Yes, Gail.
So you say that we should be praying for 30 minutes. What prayers do you do for 30 minutes?
So it's a very good question. It's a very good question. So first of all, you can just take out your book of Psalms and you can just recite some Psalms. Yeah, it's always good to say Tehillim. Always good. But
there's like a lot of Psalms. So how do you even know which ones of those you're supposed to say?
You know what you could do? You could start at the very beginning. Honestly, you can start at the very beginning, start with one and just work your way through. You can say it in Hebrew or English. You can just sit. I think also, Gail, some of the most powerful prayers are the prayers of our hearts. They're the ones that we just sit and we watch the dancing flames. I don't know if I'm just getting older. I don't know if I'm just understanding more, but I find that when I watch fire recently, I find that oftentimes, like, I start to cry, and it's not even like it's something that I can't even control. Like, I'm just looking at the flames, and to me, the flame just represents so much. Look how it dances. Look how it's always striving upwards. Look how it's never knocked down, no matter what. You can try to blow it, unless you pour water on it, it's not going anywhere, right? And it's just dancing and dancing. Watch the flames. They will tell you a story. And let that story be your story. And just look at them. Just look at them and daven for clarity, daven for all the things that you want to pray for. It happens to be, I have a list of certain things there. The Kedushas Halevi, who lived, a few hundred years ago, many hundred years ago, he did put out a list of specific things that you can pray for on each night. And I can send you those, but also not even necessarily, like, you don't have to, And of course, a reminder here, don't forget the last night of Hanukkah, the 8th night, is the night that you literally pray for all miracles to happen. All miracles, things that don't even seem possible. The 8th night, because it represents that night of supernatural, that is the night that you pray for the craziest things, you know? And I want to tell you that story, which just happened 2 years ago, and I have other stories also from the miracles of the 8th night. But my sister, my dearest sister, and I know she let me tell this story, but my sister Shoshana, who her pregnancies are very, very difficult. Hold on, you know what? I'm just going to stop the recording here because I don't, hold on one second.